Welcome back from the commercial break. Please, don't go away. We are continuing with our discussion, and it's a good one. Prof, I will start with you once again. It's something we have not yet completed. And our aspiration, one of it which even answers other goals, it takes us back to what I referred on goal number 8. Promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth. And it goes on to say full and productive employment and decent work for all. I will give that one for you. And also to refer goal number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. We appreciate on behalf of citizens for what has been achieved to promote this. But again, we acknowledge, and indeed it's also important for you, especially who is representing the Office of the Prime Minister, to appreciate their challenges existing. And for analytical view, as you come in and giving us your last take on this, it seems to be Uganda is still lacking in terms of strong institutions. The institutions we are talking about, the government institution, the state institutions. We talk about the judiciary. We talk about the parliament. That's the legislature. We talk about other institutions, independent institutions, the IGG. We talk about some courts of laws that corruption court and so forth. And of course, the executive. The strong institutions are supposed to be independent. They're supposed to be functional. And for our case, whereas we say that they are functional, there tend to be lack of independence that is required of, especially in our case here, Uganda, institutions. The parliament, which is the legislature, and the executive, which is supposed to be independent, we seem not to be coherent in realizing a strong institution. 50% of the cabinet, they are at the same time members of parliament. One institution is supposed to be checking the other. And we seem not to be ready to go. You may not have it, but as a professor, I want us to be open to the nation. I believe and I'm convinced, beyond reasonable doubt, there's a contradiction in this matter. Of having an independent institution to have a member of parliament, you have as a minister. There are some proponents and school of society say, no, it's okay. But to us, freely, with free sharing of information, this tends to compromise the independence. You cannot determine issues in the executive, and again, you are the member of parliament who is supposed to check. What is your take on that?
My take is, of course, our theme today is implementation of sustainable development goals, where no one should be left behind. As a country, where are we as far as strong institutions are concerned? Uganda is a democratic country with 3 arms of government, as you rightly put it, where we have a legislature, we have a judiciary, we have executive, and they are supposed to be independent. And I assume they are independent. So what we did in order to test that in our first conference for sustainable development goals, which took place in June this year, we invited all of the 3 arms, the executive, the Speaker of Parliament, and then the Chief Justice, and all of them came. And we said, okay, we are supposed to be implementing SDGs, all of us, and we are in charge as government to lead the people and make sure no one is left behind. So each one should talk. The Chief Justice stood up and said, yes, this is the first time to have been invited in this conference which talks about SDGs. As the judiciary, we are responsible for making sure that the institutions which have been created are very strong. You look at court of laws, this and this, and so of course, and then give us numbers and what they are supposed to do.
My wallet, because maybe
so that is what I'm telling you, what is exactly happening. It happened in June on 16th, when all the 3 arms, of course the president was represented by the prime minister, and all of them were there. And the Chief Justice said, no, from onwards, at least we thank government for having given us more money to recruit more judges whom we were lacking, but we must work independently in solving ABCD. Then the Speaker stood up and said, yes, we have got a role to play, which we have been doing to pass the budgets, to pass the laws, etc., and make sure that whatever we do looks at the wananchi, looks at the other person who is left behind. And then, of course, the executive said, yes, we have brought you together, we are supposed to be doing this and this, and we work together. And it was agreed that every year we have a conference, all the three arms must work and should be working independently. But where you say there is some interference, we need evidence.
There is a
As researchers, you may be having some information to tell us that there was some interference.
Let me come to you. The good thing you've highlighted on the good intent to have...
And what is exactly happening?
To have independent institutions. But in critical analysis, and you yourself not leaving me behind, and neither yourself remaining behind, as you say. Why, really, can we say that this can be realized? You are the cook. I am giving it in that analogy. And at the same time, you are the one serving, and at the same time, you are the one telling to tell the visitors that the food is good. You are the executive, and you are now a minister, as I say, and at the same time, you are a member of parliament. The principle of checks and balance, the oversight law, it is a problem. And I want us, in any way, if you are able to give us a solution, or maybe to say, to rest my fear, whether it's no problem.
I think that should not worry us viewers. To say that one is a member of parliament at the same time is a minister. Parliament is composed of more than 500 members of parliament. And they have committees. Majority in these committees are not ministers. And when they are checking on government, when the government is presenting its budgets and so forth, they are scrutinized. And where they feel uncomfortable, they reject, and they have done it. Okay. So you can't say because now the ministers constitute a small percentage. Okay. And even sometimes some may not even attend those meetings. Okay, if the other ones who are not ministers can check the government, they have checked the government.
Okay. Thank you. I want to move away slightly from the institutions that you've been discussing, and mainly focus on our SDG indicators for SDG 16, that is peace, justice, and strong institutions. Yes. One of the reports that have been recently released by the Inspectorate of Government demonstrated that close to 20% of the national budget is lost through corruption, directly or indirectly. And if we are to talk about peace and justice, that is a gray area that we need to address as a country, corruption. And if we are to talk about the realization of SDGs or effective implementation of SDGs, corruption is an ulcer that we have to directly target and also cure if we are to realize the targets in the next 7 years. The second issue, according to the Sustainable Development Goal Report 2022, we see a reduction. The report says that there's a reduction in press freedoms, according to this report. That is the Sustainable Development Goal Report 2022. And therefore, freedom of press in as far as reporting and sharing information about government progress on the achievement of SDGs is very critical if we are to achieve Agenda 2030. Also, the metrics, also the indicators under the same from the Sustainable Development Goal Report indicate that access to justice, access to and affordability of justice in this country is still challenging. And as a country, the report says that we have stagnated. And I think that we need to rethink our service model for access to justice if we are to be able to achieve the indicators under this goal. And definitely there are other indicators of human safety. Walking around the city, for instance, how safe does somebody feel walking around, for instance, Kampala city and other cities around the country? There are still a number of challenges that relate to that. And also, I would like to say, as a student of peace and conflict, I would like to say that peace does not necessarily mean absence absence of violence or absence of guns and so on and so forth. It goes beyond that to ensure that an individual feels comfortable, an individual has food to eat, an individual can afford the necessities of life and is able to go around issues of life comfortably, their well-being, the total well-being. That's what constitutes peace, not necessarily the absence of violence. Yeah.
Yeah, do you have what to say before I go back to the professor?
Actually, I was also going to speak in the same line.
Consider health and livelihoods, whether we are doing well and where we are.
Sure. So I'm still in line with Sustainable Development Goal 16 around peace, justice, and strong systems. I wanted to throw more light where he talked about the press freedom. Now, in the light where we have this new passed law of the Computer Misuse Act, where does that position us as implementers who are always engaging with the community, documenting all these stories and putting them out there? So we see the risk that is posed to us even before the press itself. People who are working directly in the communities, documenting these stories, some of them are up for debate. That means they are either unconfirmed and up for debate and blocked.
That law is a threat to information sharing, or it is streamlining how the right information to be shared?
It is streamlining, but also in a way,
harmonizing.
yes, harmonizing. But also we should recognize the fact that sometimes information is shared to probe action, to probe debate, to see to it that different people who are supposed to be acting on an issue actually speaking about it. So now this is a threat to that kind of person who is using information that way, because now you cannot, for the fear of being on the bad side of the law. Back to health. We are very happy that Uganda is making steady progress in reducing new infections new infections of HIV among its people. But we also recognize the fact that the new infections that are still registered in the country are amongst the young people, who are, and so to injury higher amongst women and girls. What does that mean to us as a country? Are we doing enough in HIV prevention measures that we are putting in place to ensure that they are accessible, they are known to the people? Because as a government, I think there is that will, there is the commitment by the government to see to it that the prevention measures are in place. But we have not done enough to popularize this amongst the young people, to avail them to their communities. You realize that someone may not even know that I can take PrEP before having sex if I'm at all at exposure. And then the other thing that I would love us to look at is that in Uganda, only 44% of the mothers in poorest households receive attention from a skilled birth attendant. Now I'm going to the side of maternal mortality. Yes. Those who are in the lower incomes, who are poor, and only 88% in the rich side. So what does that mean? Having young people conceiving children, they are unemployed, they are unable to afford services in a health facility. We've had situations where young people have died, and most of the maternal mortality rates are amongst adolescent girls and young women. This is a question of, are we empowering them enough financially to be able to access these services? Are these services available actually in their respective communities? Because we know of communities where someone had to walk for a long distance to access a health facility. What threat does that pose to the country? And then when we look at the, back to HIV, the country in itself is mostly dependent on donor financing. And yet we know that as we are still registering new HIV infections, we are cognizant of the fact as well that the financing is reducing day in, day out. This is because of changing priorities. This is because of other various reasons. What are we doing as a country to ensure that we have plans? Because when someone is HIV positive, they will never be negative unless there is a cure, which we do not have as yet. So we need to have a backup plan as a country. The HIV Trust Fund has been in discussion, I think, for the longest period ever, and this has never been rolled out. Yet this would be one of the sources for domestic financing for HIV treatment, care, and support. The other aspect that I would love us to throw attention to is around universal health coverage.
And after that, give us your last word.
For people in the country.
Yes.
We know that the primary health care package is a basic thing that everyone needs. However, some people are not in position to afford some of the components. So if we are to achieve a healthy community that is living healthy lives and their well-being is catered for, we need to accelerate the implementation of the universal health coverage in the country. We had a target of 65% And so far this is not yet achieved, yet we are reaching the agenda of 2030. We need to have an accelerated plan of how do we move forward, how do we ensure that the targets that we set have been achieved. So as we are trying to, as my last words, I would love to call on the government to put all these plans. I've seen very many good reports, a lot of plans intended to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. But what are we doing to accelerate the same? We are okay. We are now past the midterm. Because if we had 15 years, we are already in the 8th year. We need to see and if by now we have not achieved some of them, we need to have plans set in place, work with the young people, and I repeat, it's really important to involve young people at all processes, at all levels, be it a development of these policies, be it a development of these plans, because we are the generation, we are in a country that is young. We are in a generation where young people are taking up spaces. Unless we involve them in these plannings, development of these documents, implementation of the same, monitoring of the same, and also reporting on the same, we shall not get the results that we want.
Good.
Thank you.
Wow, I appreciate you. You were hands on the point, and the prof, the technical advisor, will take it up. The youth is saying, please accelerate the plan. We are remaining with 8 years. And the inclusiveness of the youth seems to be minimal. When you are talking about the Paris development model, involve them. I was really taking note of her concern, and I believe you are not differing from us. Prof, I want to welcome you as you are giving us also as well your last word. While talking about the last part of it, I know we've almost tackled all the 17, but the sustainable economic growth, we import less. We import much rather, it's vice versa, and we export less, 17% of the export. The industrial growth, as per the plan, seems to be also at a slow pace, where in all the country we are supposed to have every sub-region at least some industries, turning the problem of unemployment and also increasing export trade that will balance our economy. Those are issues of economic growth. Just give us your insight into that and your last word in recommendation, what you are doing to achieve that.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I come to that, of course, now I go back to my sister here. The recommendation she was giving, and giving her some information that it is not true that the government is not involving the youth. And actually, as far as SDGs are concerned, the youth themselves have formed a coalition for SDGs. And we have given them offices. They are with us at the SDG Secretariat.
Thank you.
So I call upon her to come and join them, visit the Secretariat. You will find that actually the youth they are mobilizing as the younger people in all the regions.
Okay.
Going back to the economic growth, Uganda, like other countries, of course, has been affected. We are in recession. The economic growth before the COVID-19 2020 was about 6%, and it fell to about 3% in 2020, and last year it increased a little bit to 3.4%, which is still very low. And when you look at the activities which constitute this economic growth, like agriculture, fisheries, forestry, the performance has been stagnant because of those shocks, the COVID and Ukraine war. While the industry sector has improved very little, that has improved about 0.4%, but still, of course, a lot has to be done. And as you rightly reported, government's plan is to make sure we have industries, we have developed parks in at least 25 zones of this country. Not much has been done, but at least in some areas they have started, some industries have started, they are producing products, and there is some slight improvement. So there is a plan for that. We can't say we planned to do that and we are almost 100%. No, we are still low, but at least those ones have been set.
Okay.
No, as we stabilize, definitely we should be able to improve on that one. So the other initiatives the government is putting in place is, of course, capitalization of Uganda Development Bank to offer low interest credit facilities, which is in place. Then there is this facility called Emyoga to provide funds to the people who want it, including the youth you are talking about. Women, youth can borrow at low interest rates from that one. There is Operation Wealth Creation. There is also this parish development model. which has started. And when you look at parish development model, 30% of the funds will go to women, 15 to the youth. So the youth are being considered in this one. So if all actors come together and support the government in this particular cause, I think we should be able to eliminate poverty.
Thank you so much, but I will leave with you a date which you can easily pay at the ministry as a technical advisor, that these programs which are good, they need to always prepare the recipients before implementing, because the misconception is tending always to demean the good results. It is my just humble submission. And in this, where you train the population and you first train them in the skills they are going to participate in, and then you bring the money depending on the projects even they are planned. I'm just giving, I've only had the chance to deliver it via here as a technical advisor. And I'm your field researcher, so it is a matter which is important.
It will be done. And of course, whatever we discuss here, we shall put it up and present it. And it is us actually to work on it.
Very good.
To come up with a very good model and how it should be done, and we present it.
Very good. Having said that, please, do you have a last word? Your last word, because we're ending the program. Your last word to the viewers.
My last word is to call upon the viewers and, of course, thank the media to work with the government and disseminate the information which we have. Government has done quite a lot. There is a lot of information, as you saw in the video, that the citizens need to know. So we need to work together and disseminate the information which we have, and also sensitize the public.
As Smart 24 TV, our one's open, unless it's you would disappear.
And also thanking the civil society organizations. They are doing good work and they are partnering with the government through the SDG Secretariat. Let us keep it up.
Good. Thank you, Sir Prof, for having honored our invitation. Let me receive also our dear brother for 2 minutes to comment about the energy sector amidst a controversy of where it is believed that the environmental impact assessment concerning oil was not done, and how can we use our natural resources to enhance or to achieve the SDG. In 2 minutes, if you can sum it up, I'll be grateful. And also give us your last word.
Thank you. To begin with, one of the targets under the SDGs, especially under SDG 16, on affordable and clean energy, was increased access to electricity for the population. And Uganda has is on track. It has achieved 41% of this target. And hopefully in the next 7 years, we will be able to cover the remaining ground. However, on the population with access to clean fuel and technology for cooking, as a country we have stagnated, mainly because of over-reliance on wood fuel for cooking, and that is a challenge. But if we improve on access to electricity and availability of other clean energy technologies, we should be able to see an improvement in the realization of the targets under this one. On environmental impact assessments, yes, government has been doing environmental impact assessments with regard not only to ECOP but also very many other projects. But the challenge probably that we see is whether there has been strict implementation of the recommendations of the environmental impact assessments that have been done. I am not yet very conversant with what has happened in as far as the ECOP is concerned, so I wouldn't be able to make a comment, an informed comment on the progress that government has made in the implementation of the environmental impact assessment recommendations. But what I can say with certainty is that in as far as the SDGs are concerned, we still have some work to do in as far as access to electricity for the ordinary population is concerned. We have achieved so far 41% of the target. And also on the population that is able to access clean fuel and energy, we are also still struggling.
What's your last word as the program?
To just finally thank our viewers, but also to make mention that the implementation and realization of the SDGs is not only a responsibility of government, And as an SDG champion from a civil society perspective, I want to say that it is a responsibility of every Ugandan, from government, private sector, civil society organizations, private citizens, religious institutions, to come together and ensure that we can make a contribution towards the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals in Uganda.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mbaba's Jonas Musinga, the Research Advocates Coalition for Development and Environment. I do, humbly say that the doors, the studio is open, and please create also the space of our partnership with you. We are good people, and together with the Professor Dr. Albert Vyamjisha, Technical Advisor, thank you for remaining very vigilant to see Uganda going ahead in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Keep it up and tell the Office of the Prime Minister that Smart 24 TV, we are interested to see the good work going forward. And also to Wally Ruth, the Executive Director Uganda Network of young people with HIV/AIDS. We also wish to extend our call and for advocacy partnership to support the youth, and you're always welcome. Thank you to have been on the show, to the dear viewers and listeners. It has been a good weekend until next weekend, and we promise after agreeing every month we will have such a discussion. And we were also reminding for those using the services of Zabu and so forth concerning the access to media platform, please always you can use the same. And to the viewers, God bless you, and to the guests, thank you.
Thank you very much.